Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. Hope you can definitely hear me clearly. Trying to turn you turn down the music just a smidget. Thank you, sir. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. I definitely want to welcome you to the Knowledge is Power podcast live, hosting the Roundtable Talk. Miss Treva, if you don't mind, please, Queen, if to meet your mic.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's the other person. Um, anyway, y'all, this is Tuesday. We are back with another Roundtable Talk. I am your host, Christopher Jones. Of course, I normally carry my crew with me, and you know that they 9 times out of 10 they'll step in shortly. My co-host Perry Busby and my other illustrious co-host Dr. Catherine Campbell. We are excited today. We are missing our guest co-host Dustin Harris, but again, we have someone to step in. Ms. Treva Johnson is our guest co-host today, and we are excited as all get out to have you on. But before we get to our meal for our round table, I definitely would like to introduce to you all Treva Johnson. I want to say her middle name is Sherelle. Uh, and she is a candidate that is also running for a school board. So I'll step back just for a second and let this queen introduce herself to you all, and then we'll get started with our show. Go ahead, Queen, you have the floor.
Absolutely. Thank you, first of all. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. It is a very much so a blessing to be in the house. My name is Treva, his poet Johnson, but yes, it is Sherelle because in this campaign it's got to be Sherelle, okay? um, but yeah, I am running for Beaumont ISD School District. I am a local poet, activist. I've been in and out of the schools for many years, speaking to the children in many different capacities. I love children. So God gave me this powerful voice. So I want to take that voice and be an advocate for our because I have a heart for it and a compassion to see children just be their best. And I know that I'm in this election arena. Um, but I'm excited to be in it. Very excited to be in it and grateful to be running.
I am I'm grateful to have you as
Thank
a
you.
young representative within our school district. And I hope that you are successful in your run and elected.
Absolutely.
Um,
Thank you.
and so, yeah, I definitely wanted, our listeners and viewers on the Roundtable Talk to experience a candidate that is running for school board. Of course, the Roundtable Talk is definitely previewing as many candidates as we possibly can on um, the Knowledge is Power podcast and the Roundtable Talk show. So,
Absolutely.
just giving candidates the opportunity to be free in their communities, right? Because I know most of the times when we're campaigning, we try to stick to a script.
Mhm.
But today, you could definitely let your hair down. We have a nice buffet,
All right now.
a nice buffet of discussions to enlighten each other. So I definitely welcome you to the Roundtable Talk.
Thank you so much. I wouldn't want to be anyplace else. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome, awesome, awesome.
I'm excited.
Perry, I am too. To be honest with you, I really am. And like like I communicated to the crew, we have a special guest, and I think they are, especially Miss Cat. She was extremely excited. I do know she did have a doctor's appointment today, so
Okay.
she may be a little tardy for the party. And
All right.
and we know also that we have Perry Busby on with us, brother. What's going on for the week, man? Tell me something. I'm loving that background. You hear me?
Just a little something, something I picked up along the way to the round table talk show.
Hey, man, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I almost look like BCP up here.
I'm telling you, and I'm a Hebrew Panther, so you know if I'm rocking green and gold, I must be down for the cause.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, so y'all know we've been, we try to tap into all types of topics, national, of course, national and global topics and whatnot. But our show flow theme of this week, Tuesday, April, I'm sorry, our show flow for the week is how did we get here and what do we do next? A look at how national shifts are shaping our local reality, our culture, and our connection to each other. Um, our first topic, which is our national global topic, the title is The Great Divide. Is America more united, or more divided than ever before? How today's global tension and political drama are changing life for everyday people. A simple breakdown: America feels like a divided house. Politics, race, class, even basic facts. So, I'm sorry. Um, our first national, that was last week's show, but our first national topic is when the leaders ain't leading. That's where we at this week. When the leaders ain't leading, is the world outgrowing America? What it means when global eyes look elsewhere for power, justice, and direction. Again, our theme for this week's show is the shift, where we're heading, who we're listening to, and what's worth holding on to. A full circle conversation on leadership, legacy, new voices, and whether we're losing at what once held us together. Um, our simple breakdown for our first topic is America used to be the leader of the free world, but with global powers and rising and public trust failing, everyday people are questioning whether national leaders still serve them or just themselves. Our discussion points are national leaders too disconnected from real people's needs. How are everyday lives affected by foreign wars, rising prices, and political infighting? What does it mean when global respect for America declines? Our resources: Brookings Institution, Global Trends in American Leadership. You could definitely check out their website at brookings.edu and check out their particular topic or specific topic for this this show topic, which is brookings.edu/topics/global leadership. So I just want to know, when the leaders ain't leading, is the world outgrowing America? How do we look on a global stage currently under this administration? And that's pretty much what I want to get into for this first topic. Um, Treva, being that you are a guest, if you don't mind giving us some insight when the leaders ain't leading, and of course, um, we definitely reach back to some of our youth for these topics as well. So,
Hmm.
um,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Go ahead.
So, personally, I feel like I want to go back in a bit. We talked about it was the freest of the free world, America, right?
Mhm.
I personally believe that this place once certain people came here with bright ideas from Europe, I believe that the freedom went out the window because then there was no freedom for certain people here. And that is the legacy that is brought us to today. Now, when the leader's not leading, I think that that is an opportune time for honestly, like this is the problem. It's reversed. We actually think the president has the power when the people are the power, period. So the president is supposed to be serving. But in so many cases, whether it be Democrat or Republican, certain people don't get served in this country. So I think that this is the time for the people to rise up, really unite. And I have to say it. I trust God. I believe God. I believe everything happens for a reason and everything means something. There's not a person like that in the White House for no reason. I believe that a lot of him, what he's doing is judgment upon this country. And I absolutely believe that in times of turmoil and times of chaos, the little people tend to come together, or what they think is the little people. And I honestly think that that's where we're going if we just keep our heads straight and don't let emotions override. Even though this is happening, that is happening, there has to be something to come together and do something with the government because the way it is, and like these people are running amok and making the people feel like they have no power when the people have all the power, it's backwards.
Yeah,
Backwards. So I think that this is just going to be an opportune moment when the leaders are not leading, the people have to lead. And we have to raise
absolutely.
up leaders within ourselves,
Yes,
within our
yes,
communities. We have to.
absolutely, absolutely. Here, give me something. When leaders ain't leading, is the world outgrowing America?
Man, why you gonna have me following trivia, man? Come on. Where you That's,
You
thought
know
I
how
was
it
your
goes,
boy,
brother.
man. No, no. I definitely concur with what trivia has positive. Uh, being that I'm a few seconds older, uh, I guess I can at least see this timeline, slightly longer, and to uh, just really see uh, the the slow desolation of our politics, and I think I would say from especially after the Voting Rights Act, and we saw political engagement. I mean, we can start from Barbara Jordan in Watergate and begin to see substantive black voices speak truth to power in many ways, and they were doing it when they didn't have the so-called numbers,
Right.
and since then we've seen a growth in participation, which we all can applaud and be proud of. But I think now, looking 50 years backwards,
Mm.
uh, to be able to say, um, kind of right in that, as technology and as we began to see this new age of growth that came really with the internet, and I mean, if you just want to talk about pure explosion, you see it technology, you see it within religion, because in the
Yes.
90s you also get to the mega churches, and you get
Right.
all of this thing where numbers become the priority. and the messaging becomes quite shallow, and the new way to get it out is to say something nice, short, that just lets it catch a wave. I mean, and so, uh, even before we were talking about viral, I mean, uh, you had certain people depending on where you were, and you just let people know when you say "I bind you," that became it became almost viral in some ways,
Yes.
uh, and so we see ourselves here now, basically in some ways imitating and becoming poor imitations of what we saw leadership to be. I mean, we talk about Barbara Jordan, and but now we have Representative Jasmine Crockett, and I applaud her.
Hmm. Hmm.
But it seems as though the push is to get her out there in blurbs and not so much in substance.
Yes. Yes. I
You
totally
know,
agree.
and I think she is a substantive person. It's just that she's a representative for this age, and that's kind of where we're slipping. To Because being in this older guard, it seems as though the older guard is looking for young leaders that look like old leaders. You,
Mm.
you know, uh,
Mm.
I mean, every leader can't be a Dr. King. Every leader can't be
I'm out.
the next Barack, the next,
Yes.
whatever. And so to be absent of that, you end up with, as I said, I just think now we're dealing with either opportunists or cowards.
Right.
That's kind of
Right.
that's kind of where we are. I mean, and not to say that there aren't substantive people in the mix. There are,
Mm.
but now you've got to, because we have a political party in this two-party system.
Mm.
For many people, you have one party that is not even an option. So how can we really say that we are really engaging in political discourse when we are just totally ignoring one just because of the messaging that they bring forth? And then on the other
Yeah.
side, you have
Right.
Democrats in terms of these MAGA people who will, with facts flaming in their faces, will
Right.
deny,
Deny.
that
Deny.
there is
Deny.
something. Yeah, and so um, yeah, and I think and the world sees this, and I mean, it's kind of like back in the day they used to tell you your slip is hanging, and I think that's where we are. Our slip is hanging, and everybody's seeing it. The president had already walked up the stairs one time with toilet tissue under his feet, so I mean, so
Bruh.
I think
See,
the
I was
world is
trying to.
saying, yeah, but
I
I
was
think that
trying to
that's
avoid
always
that tree, but I do apologize. Excuse him. Excuse him here.
But I think that has always been the goal of our enemies, not to defeat America in warfare
Mhm.
or in traditional military warfare. The best way to
Mhm.
beat America has always been let it implode. I mean, that's what happened to Rome. So unfortunately, we getting textbooks and history books taken away, so our kids don't know about what happened in Rome.
Right. Right. I totally agree. And it's something that you all said uh, that sticks out, right? And it's politics ain't like it used to be, right? And knowing that we have seniors from our community and elders from our community who were once engaged in this place or in this space, right? Where they would take their families to understand this process, where they would take their young ones to the polls to understand this process, right? Where our black churches or churches period were engaged in this space. And so when the leaders ain't leading, especially local leaders aren't leading, just like Treva said, locally sets the tone for county, state, and federal. And so the I would call it atrophy in engagement or in civic engagement has us to a position to where we also don't believe that we hold the power that we once held as a country, right, or as a nation, right? You have a large majority of black individuals or black residents nationwide who are targeted by, judges, police officers, and others, right? You have other minority groups that are also targeted the same. And so when you have immigrants who are here um, in transition, trying to seek, better, whatever the case may be, from their original homeland, you have currently chaos and debauchery when it comes to, individuals trying to make a living here in this country. And so when it comes to as diverse as we were at one point in time, especially in government and in leadership and in law, right? We sort of kind of stepped out of that space that we once were in. And of course, um, like Treva said, it's detrimental for the real power, which is in the people, to step up, stand up, and say, hey, if you haven't briefed or drafted any impeachment articles, here are ours, right? Here are our walking papers for this particular individual. And I understand that even in the state of Texas, we do not currently have, impeachment processes or, you know, uh, a process where we can tell our government, hey, you're not sufficient or efficient for the Texans or the Texas people, and impose a recall, right? And so in some spaces, we've noticed that our liberties as Americans have faltered based on, I wouldn't say Republican leadership alone, but majority of it is Republican leadership, right? And so our national leaders, when it comes to nonprofit organizations, NAACP, you know, the civil rights groups that we know, you know, they're absent. A lot of them are absent currently, and I try to believe myself that their absence is on purpose, because there is a tiered system that's going on in process right now, right? I mean, everything that we see this current administration try to impose, they are being hit from the courts, right? And so it gives us sort of kind of a cushion to reset the tone for our global and national um, attention, power, you know, authority to be switched back into the possession of the people. And, I know that well, actually, we all know that this current administration has imposed on everyday life for people, whether it's, groceries, whether it's clothes, whether it's, supplies for work or, material for a project at work. It's being affected greatly across the board. And so, being that America as an alleged superpower, has implemented tariffs not only on its neighboring countries like Canada and Mexico, and trying to, ostracize other spaces like Greenland and, the Panama Canal, and then also trying to fix and cook up other local elections just so that they can get even more power than they currently have. And so it's like Treva said, and like Perry mentioned, listeners, it's gonna take for everybody to operate in their bubbles, not in a unified body. I'm sorry, not in a unified bubble, but in a unified body. Fingers have to be fingers. Hands gotta be hands. We cannot we cannot use our hands as feet. They have a role. They have a role to play. We cannot expect our toes to be fingers. They're not long enough to grab things and secure things. And so, yeah, I probably pick up some coins or keys or something with my toes and grab them, with my hand or whatever, little monkey feet. But it still doesn't serve the purpose of hands, right? And so, identifying the parts of our body or the body and knowing how those parts work, I think, better yet, I know that our communities can sustain and be resilient as they have before. um, so yeah, we definitely want you all to look out for some upcoming national happenings um, that that the Congress and the Senate is doing. Pay attention, because not only are the disconnected or disengaged from politics being mowed over, so are those that are voting and educating voters as well. Our next topic is our national state topic. The title is Texas Politics Feels Like a Circus, but who's holding the mic? From the Capitol to the classroom, who's really in control? Our simple breakdown for this particular topic is Texas is in the spotlight yet again. Book bans, border laws, school censorship. But beyond the noise, what's really being passed and who's paying the price for political gains? Our discussion points for this topic is why are Texas lawmakers pushing these cultural policies? How do they affect teachers, families, and working people? And what role should voters play in keeping them accountable? Our resources for this particular topic comes from the Texas Tribune Government and Politics section. Again, if you would like to read up more on this particular topic and other topics specific to Texas, uh, please visit the texastribune.org/topics /government politics. So yeah, Texas politics feels like a circus. And I definitely want to get y'all's take on who's the ringleader or what actually is the ringleader announcing over the mic. Perry, go ahead. Since you're scared to go behind you. Go ahead.
No, no. And this one I'll take a stab. Only since I really observed Texas politics from a distance, and yeah, I'm not sure who's really running the show. I think it is more of a collective that's happening across many red states, and that uh, they are testing in one area and following pursuit in others as soon as they're able to see a victory. But it's definitely a culture war, and I think it's self defeating. Uh,
Mm,
especially especially if you look in states such as Texas and Florida and even Arizona, and I've been able to look at the politics here in Arizona, which is very much a purple design, because you begin to see uh, on the local side that it is primarily liberal, but there are a few, um, but the stronghold and the money lies within Republicans and libertarians. And so, therefore, the state ends up going with with the business and with the money. And I think Texas, you know, uh, you look at its major growth areas. Its major growth areas are, I wouldn't say, uh, are democratic. I say that they're very much diverse, in that you see a equal distribution of not just Republicans and Democrats, but you see a distribution of knowledge, be it legacy knowledge, but also young entrepreneur and visionary leaders that tend to take the cities in to new areas. I mean, you can look at, uh, for a while, Dallas. I mean, which has been very progressive and has been able to extend that growth to really some of its outlying red suburban areas,
Mm-hmm.
which are now becoming exurban. And now, once those groups now begin to understand their strength, as Trivia says, I mean, I think that that's one of the things that we really have to overcome. Uh, is not so much as the partisan politics, but the what politics brings us together. I think the late Representative William Clay said it best. In politics, there are no permanent friends or permanent enemies, only permanent agendas.
Yes. Yes.
And I think if we can take that attitude to understand that the agenda uh, is above all, I think that then we can really begin to see some movement, because Republicans have mastered that, even though they are the circus. In this process, they have at least managed to create that messaging and distribution and follow through. And Democrats, have yet to find the synergy to do the
Mm.
same thing. It has the right messaging. It has the right vision, but the implementations and the follow through is where they're definitely falling short.
Yeah. I totally agree, brother. I totally agree. I totally agree. Chiva, what you thinking?
So I'm thinking that number one, Greg Abbott has been governor for way too long. That is number one. I mean, it's kind of it's almost like it looks like a circus, because how can someone, his next term isn't over until 2027. He became governor the first time in 2015. How is that legal for someone to hold an office for that long? And we wonder why the things are the way they are in this state. Texas is one of the most powerful states that threatened to secede back in the day and still has the power to. Okay. One thing about it though, it's this whole stigma about Texas that's literally in the in the people in other states in their mind. Texas still kind of sticks out on a limb. When I went to Massachusetts to a poetry festival, and when they would introduce me, they would say I was from Texas, um, the state that's a little country, right? So I'm like, really? And is that what y'all think? Because of number one, of the governor. Number two, they say everything's bigger in Texas. Texas needs a major shift in leadership when it comes to the legislation at the top level. We need a new
Mhm.
governor. And the only thing that's going to present or even cause a new governor to be put in place is going to be if people get out there and vote. people of the right ethnicities getting out and voting, because that's part of the problem. You have other people who have been voting since voting was created, and they have no problem going to the polls. They have no problem teaching their 18-year-olds or 17-year-olds before they turn 18 the power that they hold locally and in their own state. But
Mm,
so many ethnicities haven't had that upbringing or the gift of having that knowledge early on. And I think that we need to shift. If we have such a large demographic in the black community alone, we have such a large demographic of young voters who could care less.
mm,
But then let something happen, then they want to know why the police chief tripping. Oh,
mm,
the governor, the mayor is tripping.
mm,
Oh, city council, da da da. You get half a story and they run with it, right?
mhm.
But who's putting the people in these positions? The voters, or lack thereof,
Yeah, right, right, right.
right? So I honestly, and I'm gonna tell you, be real. I did not understand the veracity and the heaviness and the true weight of voting until probably my 30s. That's when I really got into it seriously. I was like, oh man, my vote don't count. Da, 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 da. That's a bunch of baloney because it does. And
Right.
it absolutely counts on the local and the state level, more so, I think, than even the White House.
Yes,
Honestly,
absolutely.
because those people who are going to be at the White House are going to represent the people in this local arenas, the people in the cities of Texas. And if we don't have proper leadership that sits at the dinner table with the
Mm,
president, right? Then our state is gonna forever remain a place of a lack of equality, a
mm-hmm.
place where equity is not a real thing unless you become viral or become a celebrity or something of that nature. It's not set up equally, you
Right.
know. It period. I mean, and they don't even make amends for certain people and how they literally started behind enemy lines. There's no um I'll say it. There's no reparations,
Mm,
no restitution, no
right,
retribution,
right.
nothing for the people to say, okay, here's your fair chance. Can I just have 40 acres? I don't need a mule, but you give me a truck, right? Can we
Mm-hmm.
make good on that? Do we know how much I've lived in Georgia? There is so, I love Georgia for its land. There is so much ample land in Georgia that it honestly is ridiculous.
Mm,
Honestly. And there is something that could be done to make the playing board a little bit more leveraged, right? But they
uh-huh.
don't want to do it because of so many people are afraid that if we get our foot in the door for real, what we gonna do? I just believe that those who are supposed to will become those that will become what they should be, you know? I definitely Abbott is the problem. I know he's working for other people, but he's the front man, and he's the front man that definitely has a lack of compassion and concern for people for anyone that doesn't look like him.
Man,
Thank you.
man. Yeah, so I mean, like y'all hit so many perfect topics or perfect conversations that need to happen within our communities, right? And so one of the things that I heard, especially from Perry, was setting the dynamics, and then it came back from Treva of setting the dynamics, setting the tone, setting the standard, exposing our community, enlightening the individuals on how important local, state elections really are. And so, um, one of the, I guess, like one of the areas as to why, or responses as to why Texas lawmakers are pushing these cultural policies again is because, like you said, Chiva, they know that the young population isn't coming out to vote, and very, very little of the elder and senior populations are coming out to vote, which then gives those that are not, I guess, at the table, it puts them actually on the menu, right? And a lot of us are, moving out in this space, going
Yes.
to and from, not realizing that, again, like I said from the last topic, our liberties are being removed from us. And
Hmm.
so that starts on a local level. If we realize, especially in the state of Texas, if we realize that most of the legislation that we see currently is, in fact, matching to Project 2025.
Hmm.
And mind you, Project 2025 policies in the state of Texas have been being rolled out since 2020, if not 2019. And
Hmm.
so we're seeing liberties of ladies, liberties of business owners, all of that be rolled back. We're looking at, regulations be deregulated from industry, from, you know, even even something simple like the DMV, right? And
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
you have all of these spaces who are, I mean, all of these people who are missing from their civic engagement and being taken a disadvantage of because
Hmm.
of their absence, right? Because of the
Hmm.
lack of their knowledge, right?
Hmm.
Because the lack of engagement. And when we notice that legislation is knocking on our door, like you said, Treva, it's too late. It's a bit too late for us to, be ready to engage, to rally the community, to build awareness.
Hmm.
Because, again, like I said, um, there is a disconnect between us and those
Yes.
that govern us. So, like, affecting teachers, of course, school vouchers and all of that is on the line right now or in
Hmm.
conversation. Um, Affecting families even in that space, having uncertainties for minority majority school districts, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
being that you are seeking election in that space, those are some of the concerns that I'm sure you're hearing as a candidate with trying
Yes.
to identify, families that have concerns and working families that have concerns about these school vouchers, double dipping in our pocket, hiding one as a tax and the other as, what I'm saying, just some leverage you can have, right, as you
Hmm.
educate your child. And I think like identifying the roles that we should play in our community and even advancing some young individuals, and like you said, molding some young individuals so that they can not only speak out for their age group, but know and understand what it's like to speak out for a broader community outside of
Yes.
themselves. And
Absolutely.
so I do believe that, um, a lot of our disconnect is systemic. Look at how much gerrymandering happened. Look at,
Hmm.
the voter uh, purge, roll purge. Over a
Oh
million people
yeah.
were removed from the voter roll
Mm.
before this last election.
Mm.
You know, underrepresented areas that do not have access to a polling location. Of course, most of our in Jefferson County, especially under um, Bo Alford, we still have access to our polling locations, but there are some in the state of Texas, in Jefferson County, that lost their polling location, and so we have to we have to be vigilant in these spaces,
Yes.
right? We have to let everybody know that they do have a voice, even as a young person, or a voter, that a person that is not registered or eligible to vote just yet. You still have a voice. And if
Hmm.
you speak it and your peers speak that voice, eventually somebody's going to hear the words that are coming out of your mouth, especially
Yes.
after you start to make an effect in the process, right? You start to make an effect
Absolutely.
against some of the projects, programs, that are set before our communities. And so I think it sort of kind of gives us a segue into our third topic, which is our state, county, city, and it is youth focused.
Hmm.
The title of this one is If You Don't Hear Us, We'll Build Our Own Stage. How young people are creating their own space when adults don't listen. Our simple breakdown for this subject topic is young people are building their own platforms, whether adults are listening or not. Let's talk about what they're doing right, what they need, and why being heard matters more than ever. Our discussion points for this topic is why are youth choosing to create online instead of joining traditional spaces? What are adults missing about the next generation's energy? And how do we bring generations together to build something real? Our resources for this topic is Black Youth comes from the Black Youth Project under their Culture, Justice, and Youth Voices. You could definitely check out their website at blackyouthproject.com. And again, read it. It's man, I'm telling you, a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of knowledge. So if you don't hear us, we'll build our own stage. Tell me, Teresa, what do you see happening in our youth environment? What do you see happening within our youth community, especially when it comes to the disengaged from us and those that are older than us, which we consider elders and our seniors?
I think that the internet has come through like a storm or a plague, whatever you want to call it, because that's what they do. That's their arena. So they have strengths in that area. Talking to a camera, getting their point out, being influential, being influencers. You have some of those people who get it. Some of those youth can look at our system and see it's broken. Some of those youth can see, hey, there has to be something. We have all of this. Let's put it together. Let's put it out there. Let's put it online. Let's show what we have. Let's corral the people. Let's gather the youth together. How that needs to fuel with, I guess you could say, the old heads is number one, we can show the youth how to beat the streets because that's what they're missing, because oftentimes when they do go out in a group to protest, to stand up for something, the way in which it is done causes more trouble than anything, right? The behaviors, the activities, the things that they do, because the emotions are all over the place. But if we come together, the older with the young, and we learn from each other, we see that there is much to be appreciated on both sides, right? Because we need the internet because that's the world that we're in. We have to utilize it. The way that this world has been fashioned, we have to be a part of the internet circuit, world, whatever. But at the same token, you have to be able to go out so people can see you in the streets. People
Yes.
can see the action. People can see the work that needs to be done because being online is cool, but it's not going to help the kid down the street that may not have food at night. The kid
Or
down the street
access
who
to the
doesn't have,
internet.
okay, or access to the internet. The kid down the street who needs the village to show up for them.
Yes.
The
Yes,
internet
Teresa.
can't show up for nobody,
Yes, Teresa.
but the village can. See? So that we have to show them the in your face how to be diplomatic, how to talk to these people, how to get things done, how to get on the level and stay there. And when they do go low, how we stay high and you still show up and you still smack them in their face with the intelligence, with the tact, with the grace, and the sharpness of everything that I'm saying, that you're gonna hear me with the power and the presence. That's what the youth miss because I've seen it. Your best computer guru has no people skills.
Yes,
right?
indeed. Yes,
So
indeed.
how can you go for the people and you don't have any people skills?
Man,
That's what we can teach.
man.
That's what we can give. That show them what grace is. Show them what endurance is, what resilience is. Show them how if you don't win that small battle, baby, it's still a war to be won. Okay,
Yes, yes.
that's what we can do for each other.
I totally agree. And just on your last point, I remember when I was a kid, if I didn't win the fight that day, go back the next day.
Mm-hmm.
If I didn't win that day, go back the next day. But
Absolutely.
you won. You weren't gonna run from it. You weren't gonna run from them, rather, and
That's
you were
right.
not. You were not gonna scurry away or anything of that nature, right?
That's right.
You would stand your ground and show whoever, whatever, that one, I'm not scared of you, and
Mm-hmm.
two, I don't fear having to defend myself, right? So yeah, I totally agree.
Exactly.
I totally agree. Perry, what's up with it, man? What you got? If you don't hear us,
Wow.
we'll build our own stage.
Yeah. I love that. And that's the way it should be. Uh, using the framework for technology and having, again, for sake of age, uh, being one of those who remembers when personal computers uh, first came out
Yeah,
and was available. Um, I say that to say,
you
you
can
know,
unmute too.
we have a great American poet uh, once said, "If you believe in things that you don't understand,
Mm.
you suffer. Superstition is the way." You know, Stevie Wonder, and so um, what we have now is with this young generation um, who has had to develop an ecosystem
Hmm.
in technology
I like that.
because technology became their babysitter.
Mhm.
Where
Yes, it
where
did.
Ah,
uh,
I wanted it. I'm so glad you said that.
and so Trivia, where this comes in is especially for me on the technology front, and I see
Mhm.
many. I see um, how when we just bring our vibe, our just je ne sais quoi, whatever it is, whenever we bring that to the whenever we bring that, it changes. I mean,
Yeah.
we
Mhm.
are culture changers.
Mm-hmm.
Even when we're not
Trendsetters.
trying to be trendsetters. I mean, even when we're not trying
Yes.
to be.
Yes.
But I do want to take a different approach. I know Trivia was saying about encouraging it, our young businesses, but I remember a time when we weren't excited about new businesses. We were just glad to have them because that's all we had.
Mm.
And because of our necessity, we built businesses, and that built our communities because we understood if I was going to be in business, I needed to have customers, and I knew I wasn't going to get white customers. So
Come on.
therein it was a
Mm.
give and take, and and so now we have that, but now we have this different attitude, especially when it comes to, not all the time, but for some of us, when it comes to black purchasers
Mhm.
and how they view buying from black businesses.
Oh, they always want a discount. Oh man, I could go get it cheaper
Always.
than that
Yeah,
up the
yeah,
street.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's so we've become. in some ways, our
On worst
I won't
enemy.
say our worst enemies, but I will say we are the ones who get in our own way.
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
There, there, there is Beaumont. The city of Beaumont didn't build the south end. It didn't build the Pear Orchard. It didn't
Mm-mm.
build the north end.
Mm-mm.
it didn't be a bone mine.
It
Those,
didn't.
those areas became the areas that they are and loved in our hearts because of the people who were committed to building it and making it something for themselves.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, or just by nature, I mean, that generation grew up a generation that left,
Mm. Mm.
Mm.
and extracted
Mm-hmm.
extracted the last bit of resources and revenue from it
Scott.
and ran.
Sean Dukes.
You know,
Yeah.
uh, I've been having conversations with other people like myself who've left Beaumont and
Mm-hmm.
who find themselves coming back and forth because of family relationships.
Of
Mm-hmm.
But
course.
now saying, hold on, I can't just be in and out because when I come in, I'm seeing I'm seeing something that does not look like what I left.
Man,
Mm-hmm.
man, I had the same experience
And
whenever I went into the
Yep.
military.
and so it's not upon our generation to build this next version of Beaumont. It is upon our young people, and it is incumbent upon us to advise and to
Absolutely.
be the and to be the prophets,
Mm.
Absolutely.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
as well as the priests.
Yes,
Uh,
especially.
we have to set that foundation
We have to.
because otherwise, you guys will build on ground that looks sturdy, but over time will erode,
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
and
I
will be
totally agree.
and our great grandkids will be right back to where we are.
Hmm.
Mm.
I'm glad you said that because there is a sense of, I mean, and everything you all said at this particular topic is 100% spot on, especially when it comes to, the youth identifying, right? And it's hard for somebody to identify when the people that they look like or the people that they are following have no identity either.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have a I think a serious case of mistaken identity or displaced identity, right? Where you have young folks that don't want to be engaged with their parents, let alone their grandparents, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where young folks do not see the benefit in working a 9 to 5, right? Where the younger people don't see us in their PTA meetings or at their school programs and different things like that. So their support
Mm-hmm.
system that we are talking about isn't actually there.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have young folks who create these spaces because you go to church, you're judged. You go to, you know, school, you're judged. And I'm not talking about discipline. I'm talking about judged, right? It's a difference between discipline and judging. Um, Even the Bible says, "Judge you not, lest you be judged." And
Mm-hmm.
so, a lot of children, again, are trying to identify, and yet have, I guess, like a dissociated community that they're trying to find likeness in, and they can't. And so, they go out to create their own spaces. They go out to find, just like we did when we were kids. We went
Yep.
out to find like-minded individuals or individuals that didn't judge us and just let us be who we were, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so now we have these parents that were in those spaces, in that situation themselves, as young adults, and here it is. We have a huge disconnect when it comes to our youth community. So I definitely want to start wrapping up. Treva, if you don't mind, normally what I like to do is ask for something that will give us, some strength throughout the week, give us some advice throughout the week, period. Then you can follow behind. Go ahead, Treva.
Absolutely. I'm hearing something. I'm hearing music. Do you guys
Yeah,
hear music?
yeah, it's in the show.
Okay, it was loud.
Yeah, yeah. He look. He had flashbacks to KJ days, so we just had to put up with it.
I'm like, uh-oh, what happened? What happened? What happened? Look,
I'm
I'm on
still
my
here.
phone
He done
going
gone
crazy.
from
I'm
I'm
going.
still.
KJ to cool.
I'm here.
He went
I'm
from
right here.
KJ to smooth soul. So I don't
I
know.
say I saw a flashback.
Man,
Oh my
flashback.
goodness. Look, I'm like trying to take everything off my phone. I'm like, where is music coming from?
That's me, boo.
Okay,
Man,
bro. So say it again. What would you like me to do?
I would like for you to give us, something that will carry us through the week. Just give us some words of advice.
Oh, some words of advice. So, okay. All right. Something that'll carry us through the week.
Yeah.
I feel that when you're authentically yourself, there's nobody that can top that. Nobody that can come and cut that down, regardless of what they say about you or about your situation or whatever is going on. I want you to know one thing. The only thing that makes whatever they say or do have effect is that you have to care about it. You have to give them energy. So hold on to your energy. Trust God, because I can tell you this. He is the one who sees the people. He is the one who gives the gifts. He is the one who takes care of us every day. He is the one who put this together.
Absolutely.
So if we look to him and we know, right? We know. I think there comes a time you have to push past belief and you have to go into what you know. Honey, I know God loved me and I know he loved you too. Trust him. Don't worry about the negativity. It's always going to be present. But again, it can only work if you let it. Like what the brother said about us being in our own way in so many different levels. That's powerful. Um, a lady told me that different people kept telling me that, but probably back around 2015, 2016. I was in my own way. I was in my own way. I had to take self inventory and I had to see what was I doing that put me in my own way. And you know what I realized? It's not that I wasn't working, I was overworking it.
Mm.
I was trying to make the prophecy come to pass. I was trying to make the word come true. I was trying to rack my brain and say, okay, now I know this is happening. How is it going to happen? And with me actually putting my hands into some parts of it, made it worse.
Mm-hmm.
I had to let go and let
Mm-hmm.
God.
Mm-hmm.
I had to learn how to let go and let God. And when I learned how to let go and let God, let me tell you something. I'm gonna be 48 years old this year. All I'm gonna say is black don't crack and chocolate don't chip either. You understand me?
Man, look out.
He done kept me and he done held me through things that you would think it would be in a fiction novel, but I've lived
Testify,
through them
Queen.
and I don't
Yes.
look like what I've been through. And if he did it for me, I know he has and will do it for you. God bless
Amen.
y'all and thank you so much for having me tonight.
Absolutely.
Amen.
It's definitely a pleasure to have you on. Prayer Buzz, but give us something for the rest of the week.
Hey, amen. Let the church say amen.
And amen.
Amen.
Um, and to stay in line with what where Trevia has guided us. Visions are important because they give us direction.
Yes.
That direction requires a plan, and planning is important.
Mm.
But I'm a witness that when you reach that destination, your plan is sort of foolishness
Man.
Hmm. Hmm.
because what got you there were things contrary to the plan,
Mm.
Come on.
things that were through the plan, and so the plan is important. But what's most important for any vision is that first step. Let this week be your first step into
Hmm.
the. Just make that step. That's all I have.
That's powerful. That's powerful. That's powerful. Mr. T.
Yes.
Mr. T, you got something for the rest of the week?
I can leave you guys with this as we close your show out. That there's four things I like for everyone who's listening to remember: that God will make a way for you. He's fighting your battles, and He will provide for you.
Yes, he will.
Just trust His timing.
Right.
Amen.
Man.
Amen.
I definitely will leave you all this with this word for the week. Of course, you know I always, as always, I say stay prayed up, and stay prayed up. There's only 24 hours in a day, but it only takes a minute to acknowledge the Most High. Every
Yes.
minute you take
Amen.
to acknowledge the Most High, do so, and find yourself doing it as most often as you know how.
Right.
Thank you all for tuning in this week. This is Christopher Jones at the Roundtable Talk. Thank you, Tony, for allowing us to be on the Knowledge is Power podcast. Tune in next Tuesday as we will be back. And again, tune in Sunday for the Knowledge is Power podcast with Tony Renfro. Y'all have a good evening. God bless.